Because
hi guys, Tafony here with another Tafony Rambles. It's synthesizing.
That's okay. It's not what it's called. This voltage block isn't even bolted down. Hold on. We're off. Yeah, well, I just put this Nipro crate in, and I just realized there's another one over here. So, okay, so subtractive synthesis is what we're going to try and do. And what subtractive synthesis is taking a basic waveform and sculpting it like there's a metaphor that they always use of like modeling it like clay. Like you have a basic sound, which is like the clay of pottery or whatever you call clay.
And then you shape it.
And then you shape it using other pieces. But I mean, not your hands with the synthesizer pieces. So when we say waveform, I don't know if this is the actual reason, but I like to think of waveform because it makes waves on the oscilloscope. So one tool we're going to use, and this is what I had to put together yesterday for us, is an oscilloscope. So everything in Eurorack is expressed in voltages, and an oscilloscope will read voltages for you and display them on a screen for you. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because it's that part of it I hope is accurate. There's going to be a lot of things here that I'm like not positive are going to be accurate, so we're just gonna have to try.
Oh, I see some stuff on the screen.
Yes, because hold on, let me set some things up here. Can you see that on the monitor? Can you see that there?
I can.
Although it is syncing, but that's okay. So, this thing, this oscilloscope, hold on, let me adjust the mixer. The oscilloscope will monitor the voltage that goes into its input and pass it out. So it's just monitoring this and it's going on. So there's lots of pieces to this case, but we're only going to listen to the output of one.
Okay.
And I'm probably going to just in no random order go through all these different things here. But what I want to do first is a little bit of that.
Finding a thing.
Well, I'm trying to mix in the sound, but can we hear it? Okay, I see it.
Oh, I hear it.
Okay.
Well, your arm's in the way, I can't see it.
Can you see the oscilloscope?
No.
So
what
let's
was the thing you were
bring the oscilloscope. So, okay, let me back up a bit here. This is what's called an oscillator. It is outputting waveforms. And when the specifics of why it's called waveforms, I'm not sure, but when you hear it, let's bring in a waveform. You can see it on the oscilloscope expressed as that. So you see on here on the module, there's 4 different waveforms here.
Yes.
There's this squiggly one that looks like a sine wave. If we bring in the squiggly one, it looks like a sine wave.
Squiggly.
You see it on the squiggly. Hold on. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Can you hear this sound okay?
Yes. It sounds like a dull hum.
But is it loud enough?
Yeah, I can hear it's there.
Okay. Just because I have to strike a balance between my voice and it.
Oh.
So, yeah.
That's fine.
I mean, I'm hearing it too, but it's that. Anyway, so this can output different waveforms. This is all expressed as voltage. That's not super important, but if you see on the module, that is called a sine wave. You don't need to know the names of the specific waves when you start out, but there's different waves here. So there's this sine wave, looks like that, and sounds like that. And it sounds dull, right? Yeah. And if you see on the scope, you could say it looks kind of dull too, right? It's smooth,
it's
right?
Kind of like a humming sound, like
Yes. But it's kind of, yeah. We don't need to know all the specifics of the waveforms just yet, but you see that one,
it's freaking it.
It looks like that, right?
Looks like
it matches that. And then this is the reverse of that. And some of my favorite stuff in subtractive synthesis is taking buzzy, complex wave forms, like this one, and then taking things away, subtracting to make it into a more pleasant sound. So starting with, yeah. If there's anyone watching who's a Wasp fan, Now this one is a square
We
wave.
love bugs.
And yeah, so you would rarely, if ever, just make a sound out of just a wave itself, right? For a number of reasons, because
It will just sound like that.
yeah, like it's just one noise, right? Now I'll also point out here, this is getting way ahead of what you need to know, but this module will mix the different waveforms. So there's this sine wave, which looks like a, you know, it's smooth. This wave that's really jagged. If we mix them both in, it becomes like that, right? So just consider that, like, if sound is all expressed as voltage in Eurorack, mixing them will mix the output, right?
So I can do the squiggly and then I can do the square.
Yes.
That thing was freaking it.
Yes. And that's what we like to do is,
Freak it?
well, yes, but start with something really complex and then smooth it out.
down.
So, does that make sense? And the reasons, I'm just trying to think for what I would want to know. I don't know if it really matters, but like the reasons why you wouldn't use that as a voice in your system are because the pitch isn't changing, right? So think about like you can't have a melody without the pitch changing, right? But there's also amplitude, right? So if I make a melody, if I wrote a melody on a synthesizer that was like, I don't know, do 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 do, there's stops, right? And there's pitch changes. But with this, we don't get either, right?
No.
So how do we get stops and pitch changes? Well, we're going to start first with the stops. So this module does two things, and ideally I would explain those two things to you separately, but this thing, for ease of use, combines them. Might be to the detriment of explaining it, but that's okay. What it is a voltage controlled amplifier. So if you think about, if we go back to here, this is an amplifier, right?
Yes.
The control of the volume. Like you have an amplifier in your car, how much power your speakers get? Well, if I want to use an amplifier to start and stop my notes, that's an amplifier there. So this is a voltage controlled amplifier. So everything in Eurorack is voltage controlled, and yet they always make a distinction for some reason. I don't know why that is. If you know, let me know in the comments. But so what this is voltage controlled amplifier with envelope generator. So it can control the amplifier like we saw before with our moving of it up and down, but how does your modular know when to open and close that, right? Well, we pass it something called a gate. So I wish there was a more straightforward way to express this step, because I'm kind of combining a lot of things into one, but I've never done this before, and I'm surely not a teacher. And the thing that sucks about that too is I'm also going to have to talk about clock in that. Yeah, unfortunately, I'm just kind of blurring a lot of different steps together here.
You're
but
just saying things.
No, I'm not. These are real. They're real in my heart, man. So clock in Eurorack is expressed as voltages in little waves, and it's an analog thing that they can... Did my module turn off?
I gave up.
I would too. Okay. Might have to use the other input for a moment. So do you hear that?
Yeah, it's ticking.
So if everything in your rack is expressed as voltage, you can hear
The voltage.
So, but that's an analog clock, so it tells you how many beats per minute. Like, you know what tempo is,
yeah.
right? Beats per minute, basically. I'm sure everyone in the comments is going to clarify that these things aren't exactly that, but that's okay. And what we want to do is use a gate from our clock, that ticking that we heard, to drive our sequencer. So a sequencer is a arrangement of voltages and triggers. So hopefully I can explain this. And what we want to do I'm not going to go in too deep on this one because I want to focus on the synthesis and not on the sequencing, right? So what you need to know here is that we've set our tempo using this clock, and then we're creating a sequence. We're writing a melody using the quantizer. So the quantizer is going to send us both pitch and gate information. And we want to, because this is what I was originally talking about, we want to take our, there's two outputs here. I think this is for the gate. We want to take our gate information and send it to the envelope generator. And the envelope generator internally is going to tell the VCA when to open and close.
Oh, okay.
So if we go in here and we have a gate in.
Does I want to have an extra hole there so that it can have another cable plugged into it?
Yes.
Neat.
So, yes, that is the reason. And you can, because it's all analog, it's all like just electricity, you can take this output and send it to two places by way of piggybacking on that and sending it elsewhere, right? So I may very well need to do that for my clock output. So do ask questions, because I'm not a good teacher. I don't know what I'm doing, and it would probably be very helpful to explain it prompted.
I don't know enough to ask questions.
Okay, soon you will. Soon you'll be a master. Now,
Woo.
I need to find out why it is this isn't triggering. Because, okay, now it is triggering. So, oh, we have no waveform. Okay, there we go. So, if you see, I'm going to just run through everything we've talked about so far, right? So, our clock
I can
is...
hear it freaking it.
Yes, because it's very short.
Oh. Sorry, go on.
So, the clock is generating the timing that we're sending to the quantizer, and then the quantizer is sending gates to the envelope generator, and the envelope generator is sending a envelope, which is a wave shape just like the oscillator was, but not for sound, but just to tell the amplifier when to turn on and off. So right now it's telling the amplifier to go boop, 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 boop. Because if you remember an original step, this thing is consistent. It's going, it's just droning, right? So if we go in here,
I hear it.
So this is our envelope. If we give it a longer envelope, you'll hear those blips are suddenly becoming...
They're not just, they're...
Yes, because it's controlling what?
This thing.
No.
I'm sorry. You're gonna get demonetized.
I'm not in the partner program, doesn't matter. Not the envelope.
The weapon of mass destruction.
No, that's William Matheson devices. Why? What is it? It is the amplifier.
This
right?
one's the amplifier.
Yes, but
Okay.
it's also the envelope generator.
Oh, okay.
Just to make it confusing for
What's
us.
this thing called again?
Oscillator.
Okay. So oscillator, amplifier,
And envelope generator in one.
and envelope generator. And then that is the tempo maker.
This is the clock. And
That's
this,
the gate.
This is the quantizer, the sequencer. This part of it I ideally wouldn't actually show you even, because it just makes it more complicated, but we have to do it because that's the setup, right?
Yeah.
So now the next step is so we're sending gates to set our amplifier, right? So instead of those little blips, we're turning those little bloops of the clock into like
A sound.
they're called envelopes, and it sort of looks like this, although this isn't monitoring an envelope, but it's instead of a square wave is very sharp, so the opening of the amplifier isn't like, I mean it can be, but like you hear how it's kind of smoother, right? It's going like, if that makes sense.
Oh.
So now, if we're going back to my original metaphor or whatever we want to call it of why you can't write a melody with just a drone. So we have our melody starting and stopping, but we don't have the pitch changing, right?
Yeah, it's just one note.
So if we go back to, now you can change let's get conceptual. Well, you can change the pitch by way of tweaking the knob here. But obviously you don't want to write music this way unless you're very, very smart. So what our quantizer does is it set an arrangement for us, and it's cycling through it. And if we take the control voltage from that and send it to the pitch input, which is called volt per octave here, because octaves in music theory going way back, it's like anyway, that's not important. So for here, just to say that pitch is expressed as voltage, and you send voltage from the quantizer here.
Oh, now it's doing. Oh, it's like the do re mi fa sol la ti do thing.
Yes, but you remember in music class in elementary school how they talked about how the scales repeat, like it just goes up and up and up, and the same notes exist again up octaves. Do you remember that?
No.
So you go like do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. If you did that up way higher, it's still the same notes, right? Anyway, that's just what volt per octave means. It's not important right here. But, so now we have all of the basic pieces to make this really ugly melody, right? And we can mix in our different waveforms. And we have a melody, right? It doesn't sound great.
No.
And this melody is kind of not ideal, but we've made a melody.
But the square guy.
Which one do you like? Square wave is like usually pretty associated with video game music, like chiptune.
That might be
Chiptune is classic. Yeah.
There we go. I've chosen.
Sounds good.
Right, so this is the pitch guy.
That's our sound source.
Okay, sound source. And this is the amp envelope filter. That's the
not filter. Envelope generator.
Generator. And this is the quantizer. And then that's the clock.
Yes.
Okay, lit.
So, to step it back a bit, I'm trying to think of a way to silence this for a second because it's getting really annoying. So you remember, we're monitoring the output of this chain of things, right? So consider how your square wave that you chose, and you've mixed it in with your reverse ramp wave, I believe this is what it's called. Well, you mixed it in with that wave, right? And then it looks like that.
Yes.
Right? So the reason why it's pulsating like that is because your voltage controlled, which you're controlling by your envelope, is choking it off.
Oh.
It's opening and closing, right? So you made that waveform, and you're controlling its amplitude with the VCA. Does that part of it make sense?
Yes. So then if you change this, you can change it from going like, then you can be like,
let's do it.
Like
Let's
that?
not. Yes. So what? You hear it. You see it.
yep.
You change the waveforms. They'll change a bit on there, right? That isn't a drastic change, but it changed the waveform on there. Now, if we change our envelope, which changes the VCA, you'll see
Oh yeah.
they got larger because it's louder, right? There's more voltage coming in, but also it's less blippy, so they stay on the screen longer, right? And there's lots of depth to envelope. Like you can make it here. You know what? I'll give you the preview of it. If you give it a long attack, it'll fade in. Now, if it's longer, like if it hits the new note quicker than here, if we're slowing down our whole sequence, we'll make our notes way longer. If we bring in something called attack, See, it's swooping in,
Yes.
fading in, right?
Yeah, instead of just going like...
Yes.
It's like...
Which, like, all depends what you want, right? When you get faster, if you have too much attack when you go too fast, it doesn't even have time to open right now, which is what we're hearing, right? So you have to bring it down.
Hear nothing.
Bring it down slower, then you can hear it, right? But if your song is really slow, you want to have big, long notes.
Oh.
And you can swell them in by use of the attack. That's too much. Now, this still sounds kind of nasally and raspy. So the other one, there is so much depth to synthesizers that I don't even
Good God.
cross the, or I don't even begin to understand it. But what we can do is use a filter, which is a principle of subtractive synthesis. So if our original metaphor about the, sorry, just need to make this a little longer. I'll make this a hair faster. See, it sounds a little harsh, right? Because it's just a basic waveform. An original metaphor about the pottery and shaping it, this is pretty apt here because this is a filter. And a filter, you know what a DJ filter sounds like, right?
Yeah.
So this is low pass filter, meaning it lets the low part of the frequency pass, right? There's also there's band pass, there's high pass that lets the high pass frequency pass.
Oh.
Right? So what I want to show to you first, though, we're going to stick in low pass mode for this because it's kind of the more bread and butter thing.
If you saw this on a heart rate monitor, that'd be really bad.
Yeah, it would. You can ask some of our friends who I won't dox about that. But consider about what crazy waveforms they've seen on the heart rate monitor. So let's just bring that up a bit. So I just want to show you, consider how, if we're looking through the oscilloscope, this is how our sound sounds. We liked our square wave, right? Let's bring in more of our square wave then.
Yeah.
But square wave can be a little nasally, and we're going to use our filter to smooth that out, right? So see how it's kind of becoming like that sine wave that we heard before?
Yes.
And that sine wave sounding like this. But yeah, I'm just trying to demonstrate what that does. And when I was learning synthesis, one part that I found really complicated was learning how to use filters, because when you're at the stage, here, take this, grab this.
This thing?
Yes, twist it.
Hold on, I can't see. Oh, now this guy's all... Oh, this one makes him round. Okay, so these are further apart and kind of round. And if you do this, they get closer together and sharp. And they kind of freak it.
I mean, they're not
Okay, so this makes it the really square shape.
Yes, because so at wide open, it's basically not, the filter is basically not there at all.
Okay, so this is just the regular thing.
Yes.
On there,
and then when you introduce the filter, it's like you're sculpting your clay, right?
Oh. I like that one.
Right? So, saying you like that is a perfect segue into the part that I really struggled with when I was starting, is that, so when you set the filter as if it's a setting, it sounds fine, but like it's not very exciting, if that makes any sense. Like, that's fine, but like I want my filter to move, right? And I'm trying to segue this well and to not drop the ball on this, but everything in Eurorack is expressed as voltage. So we're going to borrow the envelope in this module that's used for the amplifier to move this knob for us.
Oh.
So this has an envelope output here, And we're going to take our envelope output and we're going to send that to the cutoff input. And the cutoff is this knob. So we send it to this cutoff, and it's like turning the knob for us, essentially, right?
Yes.
So do you see how your waveform, which started off completely static, is now morphing and moving,
Yeah,
right?
now she's a little squiggle.
Yeah. So now, because we're sending it voltage to do this movement for us, we might want to open this a little bit, right?
Yes.
Now we can send more of it or less, and I want to send, which way do you want to do it to? So you can send it so it's negative, right? So if I take this pot, I can
send negative.
So this is, oh, I'm twisting the wrong knob. So this is an attenuverter, and it can, in the middle, so see right now, so we're sending the envelope. You heard it before, right? But
yes.
This attenuverter tells you where you want to send the voltage. So to the left, it's negative. So here it's the same as it's the same as you doing this.
Yes.
Like counterclockwise, or positive, which I like to do. But you have to adjust your cutoff, right? If you're going to open it more, you want to start more closed, right?
Yes.
So try it. Here, I'm going to set it up for you. Or I'm going to remove my settings for you. So
Okay.
this is the attenuverter, and that is the cutoff.
This is the top. There's so many cables.
Get used to it. Which way do you want to send it? There's no right answer here. That's just a...
So this is negative. Correct.
That's the cutoff. This is the attenuverter.
Okay.
So that's like your base setting, and this is how much of that modulation you want it to receive.
So this is more negative?
That's at noon, it's not sending any modulation. To the left, it's negative. To the right, it's positive. So consider if you're going to send it negative voltage, you want to open it more probably.
Like that?
So you could also, just to demonstrate what this is doing, open it all the way and send it lots of modulation.
Fake.
Which you probably don't want to do, but...
No, you can't really hear it. Like that one.
Now, I just want to demonstrate one last thing here. So because we've made a proper melody, that your envelope is controlling both your cutoff and your VCA, right? So if we make changes, we make it super short, or...
You can hear it ticking.
Right? That's what I'm before. This is changing both is what I want to demonstrate, right? So if we make this longer, this is called decay, and it's going to make your envelope longer, right? So if we open it all the way, the envelope will be longer than the notes, so it'll just stay open. But if we shorten it, this is changing both our VCA and the movement of the filter.
Oh, now it sounds interesting.
Yeah. But then if we go really fast, we want to slow this down or shorten our envelope as we're going faster. But consider how the envelope is now moving your filter faster.
Yeah.
So how is that affecting that? Well, it's making it a little squawky, right? So if we slow our sequence down, though, we're going to need a longer envelope to coincide with it.
Now it's back to the one that's sounded like I made it.
Yeah. And that is subtractive synthesis. So what do we need to do now? We sped it up. You don't even need me. You're just gonna go straight and shorten the decay.
There we go.
All right. On that note.
On that note, we're done. We made a thing.
Yeah. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Tafony. Give me a high five.